الرحيم الحمد لله الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله وكفى بالله شهيدا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له إقرارا به وتوحيدا وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. Alhamdulillah, Allah has brought us back again here at the masjid. Last time I was here, I believe it was a khutbah in the winter time. Alhamdulillah, so it's good to be back with you brothers. Alhamdulillah. However, as I was conversing with Brother Sabir earlier before the lesson, Brother Abdul Qawi, a masjid in this location is necessary for the masjid to be utilized, for the masjid to be open, to be functioning. It has to be, everybody's not going to come. Some people will walk in, some people come, but it has to be a da'wah, call. As Allah says in the Quran, Ud'u ila sabili rabbik. Call to the way of your Lord. Qul hadi sabili ad'u ila Allah. Say, O Muhammad, this is my path in which I call to Allah. The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, call them. فَلْيَكُنْ أَوَّلَ مَا تَدْعُوهُمْ إِلَيْهِ. The very first thing you should be, or the very first thing you should call them to be, should be kada kada. So in Islam, there has to be a call. It's insufficient for the masjid to be open with a sign. Okay? It should be events, it should be something where you're invited to come, you're requested to come, we want you to come. For the neighbors, for the people walking by, passing by. If we do this with sincerity, of the proper knowledge, you see the results and the fruits of that, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I ask Allah to bless all of you brothers here, and to increase all of you in beneficial knowledge and righteous action. Inshallah, if you put that on the table, it's okay. If anyone wants to record it, inshallah. We're going to speak about tonight, hadithdisciple. We're going to talk about hadithdisciple, whereas it is upon us. The last 2 nights of Ramadan, it's like we're happy and we're sad at the same time. Happy that they're coming, opportunity. Inshallah, hopefully we reach Laylatul Qadr. Hopefully we'll get to reap those benefits of the itikaf, of those last 10 nights, especially the odd nights from them. But at the same time, as if we're sad. It's like Ramadan has came and it went, literally. SubhanAllah, just like that. It's unbelievable. وَلَا حَوْلَ وَلَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned, he says, يَتَقَارَبُ الزَّمَانِ. He says time will become short, time will become close. And a different interpretation of the ulama with regards to what the hadith means. However, it states that time will become close by, closely knit. Weeks don't feel like weeks anymore. Months don't feel like months anymore. Khayran, inshallah. Al-Itikaf, the first thing we're going to speak about, and we're going to read from tonight, we're going to explain and comment on the book called Sifatu Sawmi Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam fi Ramadan. A description of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's fasting in Ramadan by Sheikh Salim al-Hilali and Ali Hassan al-Halabi. A well-known book in English has been translated for years. A description of the Prophet's fasting in Ramadan. It's in wide circulation, it's been printed several times. This is the book in Arabic. So the two authors, the two sheikhs, they say, Hikmatuhu, the hikmah of al-i'tikaf. Why i'tikaf? قال العلامة ابن القيم لما كان صلاح القلب واستقامته على طريق سيره إلى الله تعالى متوقفا على جمعيته على الله ولم شعثه بإقباله بالكلية على الله تعالى فإن شعث القلب لا يلمه إلا الإقبال على الله تعالى وكان فضول الطعام والشراب وفضول مخالطة الأنام وفضول الكلام وفضول المنام مما يزيده شعثا أو شعثا ويشتته في كل واد ويقطعه عن سيره إلى الله أو يضعفه أو يعوقه ويوقفه أو يوقفه. Ibn al-Qayyim says, due to the fact that a person's heart being steadfast, being strong, being healthy, due to the reality that the only way your heart is going to be healthy and steadfast is when it's totally devoted to Allah. When your heart is totally attached, connected and fastened to your Lord, and is focused on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there are many reasons behind a person becoming distracted from being connected with Allah, the heart. It says such as excess speech, excess sleep, excess mixing and dealing with the people. All of these things have an effect on your heart's focus on Allah. Due to the fact that this is a reality, Allah Azza wa Jal, He legislated i'tikaf. In other words, i'tikaf is only legislated for you to become a better Muslim. I'tikaf, we only make i'tikaf for you to be a more focused believer. Because the things that you leave off and avoid when you make i'tikaf are all things that hinder your heart from focusing upon Allah. Ibn Qayyim says, all of these things here will split up a person's heart, separate and chop his heart up into pieces, or it will weaken his heart. Too much mixing with the people, distraction from Allah's dhikr, no doubt. Excessive eating and drinking is not what so focused you're going to be when you eat and drink. Being with your wife, or a woman being with her husband, it's a means of distraction from Allah's dhikr. It's a means of weakening the heart and attaching the heart to other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Since that's the case, He's saying two things to you. The only happiness that you're going to get, the only righteousness of the heart that you can experience is through being attached to Allah. Okay? And also things that weaken that attachment, food, drink, mixture with people. Since that's the reality, He says, اقتضت رحمة العزيز الرحيم بعباده أن شرع لهم من الصوم ما يذهب فضول الطعام والشراب ويستفرغ من القلب أخلاق الشهوات المعوقة له عن سيره الله تعالى وشرعه بقدر المصلحة بحيث ينتفع به العبد في دنياه وأخرى ولا يضره ولا يقطعه أو يقطعه عن المصالح العاجلة والآجلة. He says the rahmah, the mercy of Allah, the exalted in might, the most merciful and kind, His mercy upon His slaves, a requirement of this mercy is that He legislated fasting for them. He gave them rules in which will allow them to remove that excessive food, that excess speech, that excess mixture with the people. He gave them a specific time of the year, a specific way of getting rid of all of that excess. And that, of course, is what? It's fasting, Ramadan. Too much food is harmful to you. Too much drinking is bad for you. Too much of you enjoying your pleasures, your sexual desires, is not always good for you. So therefore, Allah Azza wa Jalla, as if He gave us a time out, a break for our bodies, our souls, and our spirits. Get right. But it's just a break. Because avoiding food in totality will kill you. You'll die. Starvation. You need something to drink. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put these things inside of the human being's body, sexual desire. You need to relieve that. Relieve yourself of that. Those things need to leave your body. So not all the time, but sometime. And this goes to show that Ramadan is based off of what? The rest of the religion is based off of balance. The human being is a creature that needs to be around other human beings. He's a social animal. He has to be around people, to talk, to help, even to fight. It's the nature of the human being. Some human beings are aggressive. You can't fight with yourself. Right, Bukhari? You can't fight with you. You need somebody else to beat up and fight with. That's the nature of the human being. So therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He put these desires, these emotions, these feelings, okay, these natural dispositions in our bodies. So to take them away from us totally, you can't do nothing, that's harsh. But there's a specific time in which you need to break from that. You need to break from your brothers. You need to break from your children, from your wife. Your wife needs to break from you. You need to break from your belly. You're eating and drinking and stuff in your face, you need to just relax. And this is from the wisdom of Ramadan. I don't think, alhamdulillah, that there is a sensible person. They don't have to be Muslim, but someone has some type of sense and a spirit, except that they want to realize there's hikmah. That's divine. It's a time in which you take a break from these things. What do the doctors say? Don't read too much. Don't read in the dark. Don't do this, don't do that. Don't put a strain on your eyes. But I love to read. I benefit from reading, I learn from reading. Okay, but your eyes need a rest. Your eyes need a break. Your feet need a break. Run, walk, do these things, but not all the time. You need a break. You practice, football practice. You do 2-3 laps. You go to the gym. You have a nutrition regimen. But now you need a balance, right, Malik? They tell you you can eat a cheeseburger today. You need that balance in your body. Rest, relax. Don't kill yourself in the gym. But you do need to work out. And you do need to train. But there has to come a time which the body rests and gets a break from that. And this is from the wisdom of fasting, not to torture you or to punish you, but to give your body a break from all of that extra stuff. And not only are those things extra, as we said, not only are they extra, but those things are means of distraction for one's heart. They distract you from being devoted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there's a balance. Islam is a balance. Okay? The Muslim should be the one who needs or should be around his brothers. The Muslim should be social. You have friends, you have brothers you like to hang out with, alhamdulillah. You have permissible fun you talk with, alhamdulillah. But at the same time, the Muslim also sometimes needs to seclude himself. You need time to sit and read the Quran by yourself. You need time to reflect by yourself. You need time to make dhikr, to cry over your sins by yourself. You need time to reevaluate yourself by yourself. So we say there's a balance. There's a balance. Okay? Look at any other example. Husband and wife. Husband and wife need to spend time with each other. Husband is to give his wife attention, make her feel special, be with her. But too much of that is going to cause a problem. She needs her own space. Tonight she's going out with the sisters. There's a henna party. You go out with the brothers, Akhi, sisters go out with sisters. That's a healthy part of the relationship. But all of the time, every day, 24/7, you would grab the text your wife. It may seem okay in the beginning. But you're going to say, I'm tired of you. Get out, get away. Because that's a balance in life. Everybody understand this? Even with your children. You spend time with children, but your children need time which you need to play with other kids. And time which you need to be away from Abby and Umi and experience other things. Balance. So this is the hikmah of Ramadan and the hikmah of Itikaf. Is that it gives you time to seclude yourself from the dunya. If we understand this speech, this golden speech of Ibn Qayyim, in Quran, it only makes sense that we make Itikaf to leave those things that you normally do off when you're making Itikaf. Whether it's your cell phone, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever is your electronic leash, you need to leave that alone. There's no Itikaf when you're texting and calling and walking around and looking at the internet. So what's this? You might as well be home with your family. Okay, Itikaf is for you to pray, to read, to study, to cry, to make repentance. There's nothing wrong with answering a phone call if you have to, an emergency or something like this. But it shouldn't be a thing in which your Itikaf and your normal life is the same. Just like we said before about Ramadan. Your Ramadan Islam and the Islam outside of Ramadan should not be the same. It should not be the same. You should take it to the next level. If you're lacking in something, try not to lack in that in this month. It's not fronting or being fake or try, strive. Comes with a step in the next final time. So this is the divine wisdom of the legislation of Ramadan in general, fasting of Ramadan, and the legislation of I'tikaf. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he then says, Allah Azza wa Jalla, He legislates things for the slaves according to the benefit. Something that's not going to kill them, something that's going to help them in this life and in the next. It's going to help you in this life and in the next. He says, something that suits your worldly and your spiritual needs and benefits. Fasting is a benefit for your body and your soul. I'tikaf is a benefit for your body and your soul, for this life and in thereafter. Ibn al-Qayyim, he then says, شرع لهم الاعتكاف الذي مقصوده وروحه وكفر القلب على الله تعالى وجمعيته عليه والخلوة به والانقطاع عن الاشتغال بالخلق والاشتغال به وحده سبحانه بحيث يصير ذكره وحبه والإقبال عليه في محل هموم القلب وخطراته فيستولي عليه بذلها ويصير الهم كله به والخطرات كلها بذكره والتفكر في تحصيل مراضيه وما يقرب منه فيصير أنسه بالله بدلا من أنسه بالخلق فبعده بذلك لأنسه به يوم الوحشة في القبور حين لا أنس له ولا ما يفرح به سواه فهذا مقصود الاعتكاف الأعظم. Ibn al-Qayyim, may Allah's mercy be upon him, says, since this is the case, what we've just mentioned, Allah made a rule, He laid down for the believers to perform i'tikaf. The main objective of i'tikaf, the greatest, highest goal of i'tikaf is the stationary position of the heart. is for the heart to stay still, for the heart to remain in one place and devote itself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and for one's heart to be secluded with its Lord and to do it with all other worldly things, all things of creation, your wife, your children, your husband, your family members, your friends, this person being traded to this team, this person being going together, he scored this, that. The heart is always moving, bouncing back and forth. Now in itikaf, the heart has to stay still. Relax, the heart needs to relax and be focused on its Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibn Qayyim says, in order for the slave to think, in order for all of the slave's thoughts to be about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah to be the subject of all of his thoughts, to think about Allah during these 10 days, or these 3 days, or one day, however long you may itikaf, to always think about your Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also to ponder over the things that Allah is pleased with, how to become better, a better slave, how to please Allah more, greater, faster, what is the best deeds to perform. Ibn Qayyim says, so therefore you find company in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instead of finding company in the creation. And when you find company in Allah instead of his slaves, you will have that company when no one is with you, when you're by yourself, and that is in the grave. No matter how many friends you have, no matter how many followers you have on Facebook or Twitter or this and that, no matter how many teammates you have, Malik, when you go into that grave, that dark, damp, cold place, there's not going to be nobody in there with you. Nobody's going to make that smile you just made. That beautiful smile, mashallah. There's not going to be none of that. It's going to be you and your deeds. What you did. Your children mean nothing. Your parents, you and your deeds. But also, from the benefits of having righteous children, Mujahid, is that these are from the things, inshallah, that continue after you die. As the Prophet ﷺ said, when the son of Adam dies, all of his deeds cease except for 3. And he mentioned the righteous child that prays for him. So all of the time that you spend on your son, all the money you spend on him, all the efforts that you put forth to make him happy to be a good Muslim, you're going to be repaid for it, inshallah. When you pass on, inshallah, you'll pray for him. You'll make dua for him. But other than that, you're going to be in the grave by yourself. You're going to be in the grave with no one to come keep you company. So therefore, the reward, as they say, you reap what you sow. You felt comfortable with Allah in this life, and that's how you'll be in thereafter. And you felt it was, alhamdulillah, to be in the masjid, to pray, to read, to study, to be a good pious Muslim, you're going to get that reward thereafter. But if you're always bored, and you found it totally not interested in so on and so forth, Islam, this and that, that's what's going to happen to you on that day by the end of that. So Ibn Qayyim, he says, this is the greatest objective of itikaf. Itikaf is not just meant to stay in the masjid, lock yourself in the masjid. It's not just meant to 10 nights to be able to cut it. The greatest goal of itikaf is to cleanse your heart, to get rid of some of that soot on your heart, some of that film, some of those scratches and scars and dents and holes, black spots. Scrub your heart. Your heart has to be clean to find comfort in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If your heart is not clean, it's not going to find absolute comfort. Because the Prophet ﷺ told us, إِنَّ اللَّهَ طَيِّبٌ وَلَا يَقْبَلُ إِلَّا طَيِّبًا. Allah is pure and fine, and He only accepts that which is pure and fine. So the sin or the hearts become, as Ibn Qayyim explained in another book, that a person's heart becomes rusty through 2 things. And a person polishes his heart through 2 things. The first way a person's heart becomes rusty is through disobedience. Sins. Acts of disobedience that you commit. Which means of your heart becoming stained and tarnished and rusty. And the second thing is ghafla, he said, is heedlessness. Even if you're not sinning, if you're not disobeying the law, but you're not thinking about Allah, you're not making dhikr of Allah, it's a means of your heart becoming hard. It's a means of your heart becoming tarnished, becoming worn out. And he said the 2 polishers, 2 things that polish one's heart, he says, is al-istighfar, seeking Allah's forgiveness, and the second one is making dhikr of Allah. Even if you didn't make any sin, you make alhamdulillah. This is another concept, Quran, and a very important concept as Muslims. You cannot go overboard. You seek Allah's forgiveness, and you also praise Allah. Alhamdulillah, say it abundantly throughout the day. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Subhanallah, La ilaha illallah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, Subhanallah al-azim. And you also say, Allah forgive me. Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. Abundantly is a balance. You need both of the things to cleanse and to purify and to polish your heart. So therefore, that's the first step that we take, and that is that i'tikaf, literally, or the main objective of i'tikaf is what? Sheikh Sarkar, in your own words, what's the greatest purpose of i'tikaf? To see your Muslim brothers, to be in the masjid, to get good food.
To cleanse your heart, to bring you closer to Allah.
To bring you closer to Allah, to focus on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In other words, when you're at home, when you're doing all these things, you may not have absolute focus. And that's why in football, they have what? They have training camps. So, in which they take you away from the city.
No.
They take you away from your house. It's a camp, 2-week camp. We want you to spend the night here. Everybody goes to sleep at the same time. Everybody wakes up at the same time. We control what you eat and drink. Because when you're at home, you may binge, you may eat this, you may drink this, you may do this. Or you may go too hard. We want to observe you in this camp. So they have a camp. They take you out of your locale. And this is the main concept, Mujahid, of going overseas to study. Why is it so important to go overseas to study? It's because you leave your friends and your family members. And friends and family members distract you from studying. There's no doubt about that. They're gonna busy you. That's why you go to college. But if you stay in Philadelphia, you could study and this and that, but people can reach you easily. And many people that want to talk to you, due to the sheer fact that you're distant from them, they have to get a phone call, they have to go an extra way, they can say, I don't even feel like it. They're not even true friends, but it's reality. And you don't need those people bothering you. You know how many people, you know how many phone calls? Yeah, in Saudi Arabia, you get a lot of phone calls, a lot of brothers call, emails, WhatsApp, whatever. But it's nothing compared to how many I get when I'm in Philadelphia. You got people calling from New York, from Philly, from Connecticut, from New Jersey, from Atlanta, from Minnesota, from Saudi Arabia. Whoever's been around me, seen this, right or wrong. No. We're in the class, it's on my calls. Some of those brothers will still contact me in Medina, but a third or half of them won't. They're just not going to go through the trouble. And that's the wisdom of going away. Ghurba. Being in a strange place aids you to focus. Being away from your comforts keeps you from being distracted. When you go to the store in Saudi Arabia, depending on what store it is in Medina, the drinks, this is an example, the drinks are limited drinks. Especially the corner store, they have this, they have that, alhamdulillah, okay, I want this, I want a juice, I want a soda, water, this water, but it's relatively limited. Wallahi, when I come back to America, and you walk into the supermarket, Whole Foods, or Trader Joe's, or Pathmark, it takes you like 2 weeks to just like snap out of the days. Wow. The juice alone is from this end all the way to the next. 10, 15 brands of orange juice. 5, 6, 7 types of yogurt. Tannin, this, that, Octavia, kettle, cheese, eggs. That's the noise that you hear. This is no exaggeration. What's the point I'm trying to get to? Is that's all good, alhamdulillah, but that's extra time. Shopping. I got 3 types of cheeses. This, that. Pick it, and let's go. Get to America, huge selection and variety of products. And that's just a supermarket. We can go to the halal place, the meat market, this, shoe store, clothes. So much distractions. So this is from the wisdom of going away, cutting yourself off from these things. You can focus. And we can apply that concept to i'tikaf. You go in your house, your wife, your children, your sons, this, and that. In a masjid, please don't come in as an emergency. You make sure the house is stocked, everything you need, safe. Unless an emergency, please do not contact me. It's the wisdom of what? Of making i'tikaf. Everybody with me? No. Make sense? No. Okay, so moving on. The 2 authors, they say, ma'na. What is the meaning of the word i'tikaf? They say, وَالْإِقَامَةُ عَلَى الشَّيْءِ فَقِيلَ لِمَنْ لَازِمَ الْمَسْجِدَ وَأَقَامَ الْعِبَادَةَ فِيهِ مُعْتَكِفٌ وَعَاكِفٌ. The word i'tikaf means to stick to something, to stay put, to remain idle in one place for a considerable amount of time. So therefore in the Arabic language, عَكَفَ يَعْكُفُ عُكُوفًا اعتكف يعتكف اعتكافا يعني stay in the place, don't move. As Ibrahim alayhi salam said to his people, ما هذه الأصنام. He says, what are these idols? أنتم لها عاكفون. What are these idols that you make i'tikaf with? In other words, what are these idols that you stay with all of the time, and pray to, and kneel to, and call to? You're attached and fastened to these idols. What's up? He said, there's people. So that's the linguistical meaning of the term i'tikaf. It's to stay put in one place, okay? So therefore, the one who stays in the masjid and performs ibadah, he's called mu'takif, and it's called akif. It's another dua that Ibrahim alayhi salam made. وَالرُّكَعِ السُّجُودِ. He says, Allah says, طَاهِرْ بَيْتِيَ لِلطَّائِفِينَ وَالْعَاكِفِينَ وَالرُّكَعِ السُّجُودِ. Allah said to Ibrahim and his son Ismail, and طَاهِرَ بَيْتِي. He said, clean my house, purify the Kaaba and the Masjid al-Haram from spiritual and physical filth. The spiritual filth were idols and the images and people making tawaf being naked. And this any other physical filth that may have been in that place. So Allah told him and his son to clean my house for those who want to make tawaf, who want to make circumambulation around the Kaaba, those who make an ukuf, who stay reading, praying, worshipping Him, وَالرُّكَعِ السُّجُودِ, and those who bow down and those who prostrate themselves. So this is the linguistical meaning of the word i'tikaf. It comes from 3 letters, mujahid. Ayn, kaf, fa. Akafa. That's the linguistical breakdown of the word i'tikaf. Now, as for its meaning in Islam, it's not mentioned here in the book, then it is for a person to remain in the masjid to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what i'tikaf means. To stay in the masjid, to post up in the masjid for the purpose of cutting off the dunya and worshiping Allah Azza wa Jalla. Now, the authors, they didn't say, مَشْرُوعِيَّتُهُ. Is i'tikaf from the sunnah? Is it legislated? Is it something from the deen to make i'tikaf? يستحب في رمضان وغيره من أيام السنة فقد ثبت أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم اعتكف آخر العشر من شوال وأن عمر قال للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يا رسول الله إني كنت نذرت في الجاهلية أن أعتكف ليلة في المسجد الحرام قال فأوفي بنذرك فاعتكف ليلة وأفضله في رمضان لحديث أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أنه أو كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يعتكف في كل رمضان 10 أيام فلما كان العام الذي قبض فيه اعتكف 20 يوما. The authors say it is recommended to make i'tikaf in and outside of Ramadan. Recommended to make i'tikaf in and outside of Ramadan. It has been authentically reported that the Prophet ﷺ once made i'tikaf during the last 10 nights of Shawwal. During the last 10 nights of Shawwal. It is also reported that Umar radiallahu anhu once said to the Prophet ﷺ, O Messenger of Allah, before I accepted Islam, I made a vow to Allah. And this hadith shows us is that the mushrikeen, the idolaters of Mecca before the time of Islam, before Islam came, they knew Allah and they worshipped Allah. But their problem was they didn't single Him out in worship. Yeah. They took partners, middlemen, in-betweens, intermediaries between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But they knew who Allah was and they worshipped Him. They loved Allah. They prayed to Him abundantly, but they did not have ikhlas. They did not have tawheed. So this hadith clearly shows us what tawheed means. And it doesn't just mean tawheed al-rububiyyah, tawheed of Allah's lordship. Because we know that tawheed of Allah's lordship is tawheed Allahi fi af'alihi. It's to single out Allah in Allah's actions. The things that Allah does. Allah creates, Allah gives life, Allah takes that life, He sends down rain, He causes the universe to run sufficiently. The sun rises, it sets, so on and so forth. We single out Allah in His actions. We believe Allah is the only one who does those things. And then we have tawheed al-uluhiyyah. The tawheed to single out Allah in your own actions. Your prayer, your fasting, your fear, your devotion, your trust and reliance is for Allah and Allah only. The problem that the mushrikeen had was with tawheed al-uluhiyyah. They knew Allah. They knew He was the only Lord, the only Creator, but they did not single Him out. And that's why the Prophet fought them and deemed their property, their blood, to be lawful. Okay? So therefore it's incorrect for the Muslim to say, Tawheed, oh, everybody knows, everybody believes in Tawheed. La, la, la. He then says, the authors, they say, that Umar radiallahu anhu said, before I had accepted Islam, I made a vow, I made a nadhr. He put something that wasn't obligatory upon himself. He made, that was what we call what? Nadhr. Noon, dhal, ra. Nadhr. A nadhr is an act of worship in which you make something that's not obligatory upon yourself. You say in your prayers, you dua, oh Allah, I promise that I will fast 3 days for you. It's not obligatory fasting, but you make it obligatory upon yourself as a means of getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? as a means of growing and increasing. I want to do more. Okay? It's called nadr. And there's two types of nadr in the Islamic Quran. Two types. We have nadr mutlaq and nadr muqayyad. We have an absolute vow and we have a restricted or conditional vow. The first is when you just do something extra for yourself and you make a promise to Allah. And the second is you ask Allah for something. Oh Allah, if you give me this job, I promise I will slaughter a sheep for your sake. Oh Allah, if you allow me to marry this sister, I will fast 10 days for your sake. Oh Allah, if you allow me to make this or get accepted this college, I will do this and I will do that. Everybody understand this? These are the two types of nadr. And nadr is an act of worship that has to only be done for Allah. You cannot make a vow to a saint, to a sheikh, or an imam. I promise I'm going to do this, only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore, Umar radiallahu anhu said, if I was a Muslim, I made nadr. Okay, I made a vow to Allah that I would do what? He said that I would make i'tikaf one night in the Masjid al-Haram in Mecca. Look at that. He was a mushrik. And he knew Allah. And he wanted to worship Allah. So the Prophet ﷺ said, Awfi bi nadrik. He said, fulfill your vow. Fa'atakif laylatan. He says, make i'tikaf any other night. Any other night. It doesn't always necessarily have to be the same time or the same place. Everybody understand? The authors, they didn't say that the best time to make i'tikaf, this is according to the authors of the book, okay? The best time to make i'tikaf, he says, in Ramadan. And the proof of this is the hadith that's been narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would make i'tikaf every Ramadan for 10 days. During his last year, the last year in which he lived, he made i'tikaf for 20 days. He stayed in the masjid for 20 days. وأفضله آخر رمضان لأن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يعتكف العشر الأواخر من رمضان حتى توفاه الله عز وجل. The authors say the best time to make i'tikaf is during the last 10 nights of Ramadan. And they mentioned the hadith that the Prophet ﷺ, he sustained the masjid for the last 10 nights all the way up until he passed away, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Point 4, the authors say, شروطه لا يشرع إلا في المساجد لقوله تعالى ولا تباشرهن وأنتم عاكفون في المساجد. وليست هذه الآية المساجد وليست هذه المساجد على الإطلاق، فقد ورد تقييدها في صحيح السنة المشرفة، وذلك قوله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا اعتكاف إلا في المساجد الثلاثة. والسنة في من اعتكف أن يصوم كما تقدم عن عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها. طيب. The authors say the first are the conditions of i'tikaf. What are the conditions for you to make i'tikaf? Number 1, he says, or the authors, the two, they say you should not make i'tikaf except inside of the masjids. No i'tikaf in your house, no i'tikaf in this place or your shop, or only i'tikaf in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the proof for this is what Allah said in the Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah, وَلَا تُبَاشِرُهُنَّ. Allah said, do not approach your wives, do not be intimate with your wives, and you're making i'tikaf in the masajid, in the masjids. They didn't say that this term, mujahid, this word, masajid, masjids, is not unconditional. They say that there's a hadith that states there's no i'tikaf except in the 3 masjids. There's no i'tikaf except in the 3 masjids. We're not going to get into this issue right now because it's too lengthy. Okay? According to the author, you can only make i'tikaf in these 3 masjids. Other ulama say any masjid in which there's a congregational prayer, in which there's a Jumu'ah service, you can make i'tikaf in. Moving on. He says the sunnah, or they say that the sunnah for those who make i'tikaf is that they should fast, as it's mentioned in the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha. In other words, they say that it's not the best thing to do to make i'tikaf if you're not fasting. What if you were traveling, or you were sick, and you weren't fasting? Should you make i'tikaf? Is it okay to make i'tikaf? The authors didn't specifically or explicitly mention it's haram, but they said the sunnah, that which is best, is those who make i'tikaf should be doing what? Fasting. We moved on to mention. Next point, the authors of the book say, مَا يَجُوزُ لِلْمُعْتَكِفِ. What is permissible for the one who's making i'tikaf to do? What are you allowed to do? You have to just stay still in the masjid like a statue. Don't move, don't flinch. The only thing you do is read the Quran and sleep, that's it. Are you allowed to sleep? What is a person allowed to do in the masjid? They say, يجوز له الخروج لحاجته وأن يخرج رأسه من المسجد ليغسل ويصرح. قالت عائشة رضي الله عنها وأن كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يدخل علي رأسه وهو معتكف في المسجد وأنا في حجرتي فأرجله وفي رواية فأغسله وإن بيني وبينه لعتبة الباب وأنا حائض وكان لا يدخل البيت إلا لحاجة الإنسان إذا كان معتكفا. It is permissible for the one who's making itikaf to leave the masjid for a need or necessity. It's okay for you to leave the masjid if there's a need or necessity. Whether that need is using the bathroom, something that's an emergency, something like this, it's permissible for you to go outside of the masjid. But before we move on, we have to understand that the masjid during the time of the Prophet and the masjid during these times are very, very, very different, very contrast. The size of the masjid, the style of the masjid, the form of the masjid. Here today, alhamdulillah, we have air conditioning. Alright? We have electricity. Okay? We have the bathrooms, the restrooms. All here. Many masjids have showers. They have a shower inside of the bathroom. The brothers want to take showers, or sisters want to take showers, or guests, whatever. Something happens, you just want to get clean, have a shower. Back in the time of the Prophet, rather even today in some countries, some rural places, or quote-unquote third world countries, or even not too long ago, in many Middle Eastern countries, or Far Eastern countries, or African countries, okay, or Muslims in South America, or wherever they were, you had to walk for a distance to use the bathroom. Okay? Any older brothers, you go down south, you visit your parents, visit your grandparents or something, you have to go to our house. We have any of those old brothers here? Is this not the case? Even in some places, not too long ago. You got to take a little walk, take the candle or whatever with you and a stick, go to the bathroom. So this is how things were back in the day. The masjid was not attached. There was no bathroom, no restroom in the masjid, evident. There was no flushing, no plumbing, no modern means of technology. So therefore, these rulings are a bit different. If you have to use the restroom here, alhamdulillah, that's not the house right there. But back then, it's permissible for you to leave the masjid to use the restroom, to relieve yourself, okay? Or eat. Okay, the masjids then weren't like the masjids now. Even though their meals were simple and basic. And that's a whole other concept that we want to get into right now. So it's a whole topic in itself. The hadith about when the adhan is called, or when the iqamah is made, and your supper is served, eat your supper first. There's a whole issue, a whole argument among the ulama. Is it permissible to continue to eat while the prayer is being established? You have to be starving, hungry, something's going to happen to the food. And then Hafiz bin Hajar, rahimahullah ta'ala, or I believe he was quoting from Ibn al-Jawzi, okay, in Fath al-Bari, that the meals of the companions are not like the meals that we have today. They were simple, basic meals. The companions ate meat. They had warm things. They had broth. They had bread. They had sauce. They had things like that during those times. But that